Hello and welcome to the Demystifying Language series, which explores a functional approach to language literacy. In this video, I'll give a brief overview of what's covered in the series, followed by a demonstration of how this approach can be applied to enhancing reading comprehension and writing. All videos in this series draw heavily on Systemic Functional Linguistics, or SFL. Two defining features of this theory is that it views language as a system of choices, and it views this system through four main layers of meaning, with each layer having its own distinct set of functions. The function of the experiential meaning layer is representing objective experiences, the who, the what, when, where, how, and why. Logical meaning deals with how we connect those experiences together and how they're related to each other logically. Textual meaning relates to the cohesive and coherent organization of information and how this information relates to a broader context within and beyond the text. Interpersonal meaning primarily deals with how subjectivity and social context is reflected in language choices. Because these layers of meaning often overlap, I prefer to think of them more like different coloured lenses. Parts of information can serve more than one function at the same time. It just depends on how you look at it and what you're trying to do with it at that moment. Alright, let's now look at an example of how we can use these layers of meaning to enhance our understanding of a text. What I'm about to show you may seem a little detailed, but the idea is the more you internalise this way of looking at language, the more automatic it'll become without the need for much physical annotation. Accelerated industrialization, together with rapid urbanization, has triggered a significant increase in environmental pollution in this developing region. Consequently, the municipal government is implementing stringent regulatory measures to curb emissions, forcing industries to prioritize sustainable technologies and emission reduction strategies. I know, this text can feel a bit overwhelming for some readers, especially when reading a larger text full of this kind of dense information. But why might some readers find they need to use more brain power to understand this text compared to other texts? One reason is that it uses a lot of nominalization to pack more information into a smaller space. This means we have about 15 processes squeezed into only 5 clauses. A second reason is that some verb subjects are omitted or ellipsed. It isn't immediately clear who or what is doing the curbing, the forcing, and the prioritizing, for example. Directly linked to this feature is the use of implicit logical relations. We normally rely on conjunctions to tell us how things are linked logically, but in some cases, like these ones here, there are no conjunctions, and so we need to infer the logical relations from the context. Okay, so let's now use the layers of meaning to help lower our cognitive load and increase our understanding of the text. First, we'll use our textual meaning lens. A quick topical theme analysis reveals that the author chose to focus on 2 main topics in this paragraph. When we include the textual themes in our analysis, we can clearly see this paragraph is structured in 2 main sections. The upper section is about the effects of industrialization and urbanization. The lower section is about the government's actions to address those effects. In the lower section, let's also recover those ellipsed clause subjects. So it's the municipal government that's doing the implementing, curbing, and forcing. And it's industries that are doing the prioritizing. Now let's look through our experiential meaning lens. There are 5 main processes: triggering, implementing, curbing, forcing, and prioritizing. These are all of the things participating in those processes in some way, but there are only 3 actors doing those processes: industrialization, municipal government, and industries. The 2 circumstances show us what else is involved, but also where the experience is occurring. Combine all that together to shift our focus to the head of each group, and we now know where to look when we want a quick mental summary of what's going on. Industrialization with urbanization triggered an increase in this region. the government is implementing measures to curb emissions, forcing industries to prioritise certain technologies and strategies. Just by looking at the head of each group, we can infer the rest of the information based on the context. Let's swap over to the logical meaning lens now. The triggering of environmental damage is the reason the government implemented their measures. Implementing those measures was for the purpose of curbing emissions. The government's actions of implementing those measures that aim to curb emissions then caused two closely connected results. Industries are forced to act through making the environment a priority. Finally, we have our interpersonal meaning lens. Let's put that one on now. The author chose words that indicate a negative attitude towards environmental pollution. The processes describing the government's actions are fairly neutral, while the author finished the paragraph with word choices that carry a positive connotation in the context. The use of upgrading gives a sense that the situation is urgent, serious, and barely within control. Add all this together, and we can see where the author stands in this issue, as well as their potential motivations for writing this text. By using all of these lenses to understand language, we should now have a deeper understanding of the text, the various processes and experiences it's communicating, and how each of them is linked to the other. With this kind of understanding, we can denominalize the text in our head, which could look like this. In this developing region, industrialization has sped up, and a lot more people have been moving into the city within a short space of time. This has caused the environment in that region to become a lot more polluted. The city government has reacted to this situation by using regulations. These regulations make industries decide to use technologies that are better for the environment, instead of the ones that are worse for the environment. These regulations also make industries figure out other ways they can reduce their emissions. This may be easier to understand, but neither version is necessarily better than the other. They both have their uses depending on the purpose of the text. What's useful about this strategy is that if we put it in reverse again, it can help us better understand how we can raise the register of our writing by using nominalization. To wrap up this introductory video, I'll just give a very brief summary of what this series aims to do in 3 steps. Step 1 is deepening understanding of language as a system of choices. This series is mostly addressing this first step. Step 2 is then using this information to help us comprehend increasingly more complex and higher register texts. This should then allow us to absorb and internalize the language structures and ways of communicating used in those texts as we're exposed to them. Finally, we can put all this into action by incorporating it into our own writing. That's the end of this introduction to the series. The first set of videos will explore experiential meaning, starting with processes.